So, good evening, folks. My name is Conor Newman. I'm the Mayor's Liaison to the Allston Brighton neighborhood. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm here tonight to facilitate the statutorily required cannabis community outreach meeting. This applicant, Dr. Greenthumbs, is interested in opening a recreational retail cannabis dispensary to be operated at 144 Harvard Ave in Allston. Before we start, I'd like to go over some expectations for tonight's meeting. Having participated in multiple meetings of this kind, I know this can be a sensitive topic. I want to make it clear that no decisions are being made tonight, and at no time will it be acceptable to be disrespectful to anyone during the meeting. Everyone is entitled to their opinion. There's no right or wrong opinion. We are here tonight to try to collect as many comments and statements and questions for this proposal. I am not here to facilitate a debate amongst neighbors or litigate state legislation. I ask that all questions be directed to the applicant and myself only. The applicant will answer all questions related to the proposal to the best of their ability, and I will answer questions specific to the city process. If I am unable to, or the applicants are unable to answer a question tonight, we will follow up with you after the meeting and get you that information. This is an open comment period, meaning if you do not get called on tonight, or if you think of a question that has not been answered, all you need to do is reach out to our office and we will work to get you that information. My contact information has been on the flyer that you received, and I will also drop it towards the end of the night in the chat. So with that, I think we've covered the base topic here. Leah and Michael, turn it over to you guys. Just have you run through a presentation, and then folks will have ample time to go through questions and comments. Thank you.
Terrific. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Mike Ross. I am an attorney at the law firm of Prince Lobel, and I am the attorney for Dr. Greenthumbs Allston. And representing and with me tonight for Dr. Greenthumbs is Liaison. Liaison is the majority owner of Dr. Greenthumbs Allston. She is an equity applicant, which means that she is entitled to the expedited equity program that the Boston Cannabis Board has available to it in order to allow fairness within the equity, wherein 50% of all applicants must meet the equity requirements in order for a non-equity applicant to go forward. That's the program in a nutshell. Leah is also a lifelong resident of the city of Boston. She's a friend. She's an expert in cannabis and many other areas. I just want to maybe have you say a quick hello, and then I'll pull up the presentation, if that's all right, Leah.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Leah Samora. Like Mike said, born and raised in Boston, specifically Dorchester. I guess, let's see. Mike, you want me to speak about myself right now? Or you want to wait till the presentation?
We can wait till we get to that section. Okay. I'll give you a second to come up with some witticisms. And let me share my screen here. You never know what's going to happen. Okay. Here we go. So here we are. So yes, the plan is for a dispensary, adult use dispensary at 144 Harvard Avenue. But before I get into this, I know that there's been a lot of interest in Allston, in particular, with regard to dispensaries like this one. I know Mayflower's already open. There was another applicant that was in front of this city in January, and there's probably others in the immediate area. Allston, obviously, it's a dense section of the city. There are more people in Allston than there are in other sections of the city. Allston was a favorable neighborhood as it relates to cannabis in terms of the vote, voted in the highest numbers of the pro-cannabis vote, if you will. But, beyond all of that, I just wanted to try to put some logic to why there are so many different cannabis dispensaries as opposed to just one cannabis dispensary that sells all this. It took me a while to really understand this too, even though I'm a lawyer that does this work. And it really has more to do with these places being not like a liquor store, really. I think I used to think of it like, well, maybe it's like a liquor store. You go in, you get the kind of what you want, and then you leave. You can get some wine, you can get some tequila, you can get different brands, whatever you're getting, and then you go. But it's not like that. It really isn't. Each one of these stores has a different vibe, a different brand, a different product. Yeah, there's some overlap of products. There is at some of the stores. But in this store in particular and other stores, there are only products you can get at this one location. So rather than look at this like a liquor store, where I've started to look at these places like more like coffee shops. We all have the coffee shop we like to go to. You know, some people go to Dunkin' Donuts, some people go to Starbucks, some people go to other independent places or Pete's Coffee, all these different places, but they only sell that brand of coffee in those locations. And they're all over the place, especially Dunkin' Donuts. They're everywhere. So I hope that that's how I've been thinking about it. Why are there so many of these everywhere, right? Opening instead of just one. That's how I like to think of it. And we have a very unique operation, not just in terms of what we're selling. I'm going to get into that in a second. And the team that we have behind this, which is very unique, but also Leah. So Leah, I hope I killed enough time here to have you come up with a witticism. Turning it back to you. I think you're muted.
Thank you, Mike. Let's see. All right. So yeah, here I am. I'm Leah Samora, like Mike said, CEO and majority owner of Dr. Greenthumb. Hopefully to be here in Allston. A little bit about myself. Born and raised in Boston. Grew up in Dorchester. Purchased my own home in Mattapan. Let's see. For the past 20 plus years before I got into this industry, I worked in nonprofit, teaching adults as a workforce development instructor and technology trainer, helping adults gain better employment or better skills to get better employment. I also am I'm the first cannabis infused Black-owned product in Massachusetts. My husband and I created a product through Sierra Naturals accelerator program. I'm very proud of that. We are in this says 25 stores, but we're in like 60% of stores here in Massachusetts. I am also director of education for a educational program, cannabis education program in Rosendale. Soon to open here at the end of the year. And let me see, Jesus. I think that's all. Like you said, economic empowerment applicant and also social equity applicant. And here, yeah. There you go, Mike. I think I said it.
Well, we'll get you back in. This won't be the last thing you have to say, but thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Leah.
Sure. Yeah.
And Leah and I have been talking to a lot of people in the community and, hopefully get to know more and more of you as we go through this process. I mentioned that this is a very unique product that we're selling here at this particular facility. So one of the collaborations here is Louis Freeze. He's of Cypress Hill. I'm sure many of you know who he is. He's very active in the cannabis space. He has, and one of his products, one of the things he worked on was this Dr. Greenthumb brand that's extremely popular on the West Coast. And the idea is to create, market, and sell that product here in Massachusetts at this store. And it'll be a great, and then, Leah's has a relationship with Mr. Freeze, and I think she would bring him here and they would do music and things and activities and, right. Isn't that right, Leah?
Yes, that's right. Like,
We would try to enrich some of the existing art programs with.
So one of the plans is to help activate or reactivate the music scene in Allston with Be Real from Cypress Hill.
And Be Real is better known as Be Real. Sorry, Be Real is also a part owner of this facility too. He owns a portion of this facility with Leah.
Yeah, and I should mention that it'll be the first woman. I'll be like the first woman that he has partnered up with.
All right. These are some of the other partners. You heard Leah mention Sierra Naturals, which she participated in with and they helped through their accelerator program, and they helped her get her product to market, which is this really innovative product that she and her husband worked on creating that is a wellness product. So here's the site, 144 Harvard Ave. You all know where it is. It's about 5,000 square feet retail. The thing that this site has that we think is extremely unique is the parking. I'd say well, I mean, it has a lot of unique, and it's a great site where it's located, and the fact that we're able to bring deliveries through the rear of the building and have some parking for our employees through the rear of the building is a real bonus. I mean, to find a site like this in the middle of anywhere, much less Allston, where you actually have this type of resource, will allow us to operate better and put together just a better quality experience. Our employees will not be taking up parking spaces in the metered parking spaces on Harvard. They will be parked in the back to the extent that they even drive here. Our goal is to hire local people from Allston and Brighton, and we have committed to hiring all of our employees from Boston. You know, we are going to incent our employees to get to our facility using the MBTA or biking or walking, and we'll be doing that through progressive transit demand management initiatives to incent that. We're proposing hours of operations from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. We think this will bring a lot of activity to the street. In terms of our customer parking, we think it doesn't make sense for them to park in the back here. It's a real tight alleyway, but for our repeating and returning deliveries and our repeating and returning employees, we think that they can navigate and make better use of this space back there. There's also space back here for bicycles. There's space in front for bike racks, and like we said, we're gonna incent our employees to get on their bicycles. The additional parking I referenced is literally right across the street on Glenville. We have 10 exclusive dedicated parking spaces for our customers. There's a lot of repeat business in this business. So to the extent people are driving to our facility, every time they come here, they're going to know that they will always have a parking space down on Glenville Ave. And then they can shop in the neighborhood. That's the whole idea, to make it really easy for people to come into our facility, and by extension, to come to the broader community. There's also, as you all know, the municipal lot that has parking as well, but we're certainly not relying on that as our exclusive parking. We've been able to identify dedicated parking, as I just mentioned. This is the floor plan. So yeah, all in, you're looking at 5,000 square feet, but broken up, you're looking at a much smaller retail area, dedicated point of sales machines off here to the back of the building and to the back of the floor area. And then in the back of the building, this shaded gray area, this is where, this is just where deliveries and employees will go. This is not available to the public. So it's really a closed loop system for deliveries. And the front is how, you know, right off the sidewalk is where our customers will approach to get in there. We don't think there's going to be, there haven't been a lot of lines in, you know, I mean, it seems like that was like 2-3 years ago, but you know, you never know. If there are lines, we are well equipped to handle all of the line within the building itself. You won't see lines hanging out the sidewalk. This is a very large entry vestibule here with queuing enabled, and it will allow people to get in quickly and exit quickly. They'll come in through one entrance door, they'll walk into this area. 9 times out of 10, they're going to know exactly what they want. I had a client recently tell me that 80% of their orders are online. 80%. I heard that the number was closer to 50%. But the reason why that is that a lot of the products vary, and you never know what they're going to have because, in the end, this is agriculture, and certain things are being grown and processed, and certain things are not. And so, and you have a very, not always, because you have a lot of people who are trying this for the first time, but you have a very informed customer base. So they know most of the time what they want. So they're going to go online and check it. And we're going to make sure that we schedule them to come in at a time that's not the peak of the peak of the peak hour. So if we can bump them a little bit away from the peak hour, we will. And for that reason, we don't think we're going to have any kind of lines, and we'll be able to manage the entire intake of our expected customers. We're highly regulated. So one of the things we're in is in the compliance and nuisance prevention game. I mean, that's a big part of the job. We're going to be hiring people whose sole responsibility is to secure the facility, secure the exterior, secure the interior. We're going to have redundant alarm systems. We're going to have, we know who our customers, we know what our customers are buying. 5-10 years ago, no one was tracking who was buying what from cannabis. Right? There was no legal regime. Now we literally know what every customer buys. We know from the moment the seed was turned into a plant to the moment it turned into a product to the moment it was sold from our store. There's tremendous information. We've been asking people in the neighborhood what are things that that we can be doing. There's been a lot of concerns about an increase in uptick in graffiti in this community. We've heard that. So one of the things we've committed to right off the bat is to support a 5-figure contribution towards graffiti prevention. And we would be working through the Allston Village Main Streets, who've done a great job in this regard. And we want to partner with them and other people. I mentioned that we would have this 24/7 security team on site. We'll have someone there when we're open at all times, and when we're closed off site, we have 24/7 monitoring of the facility. These are extremely safe facilities without many incidents nationwide. And we know this as more and more stores open throughout the country. Preventing diversion is probably the most important thing we can do. Like I mentioned, if for some reason the product was to get into the hands of a young person, there will be a barcode on that product that tells us who bought it, or when it was sold, or what store it was sold from. Those are the things that we can do when you have a regulated marketplace that we couldn't do just 5-10 years ago. We think we have the best deal in Boston for our employees. First of all, I already mentioned all of our employees will be Boston residents. There'll be a preference for Brighton and Allston residents. We will have no less than $20 an hour for every employee. But that's the highest number I've seen. And then the average would be closer to 24. There will also be salaried positions. Those salaried positions will have, and the hourly positions will have a robust benefits package for our employees. We have entered into and now officially have signed an agreement with the UFCW labor union. These are the folks who are working in the supermarkets, certain supermarkets, Stop and Shop. I think I don't want to say the wrong one, but I know Stop and Shop is a union supermarket. They've also been working on the cannabis industry to try to get a unionized workforce. We signed an agreement with them that says you have every right to come into and meet with our employees, and not only that, we'll give you the room to do it in. So that's called a labor peace agreement. Shouldn't be a heavy lift, but you'd be amazed how few companies actually enter into one. I'm proud to be working for one that did here. and this is my last slide. We're just, we're already getting into it with the neighborhood. We're already meeting with people. We want to partner with neighborhood groups. We want to partner with Allston Village Main Streets with, we want to be good corporate citizens. That's the group. And the other thing I'll close with this. A lot of places are being permitted in the city of Boston and are being permitted in Allston. Not all of them are going to open. But we have a plan to open. We have the resources to open. We are ready to open as soon as we're approved, and we are ready to be a great neighbor to the community. Conor, I'm going to stop there and see if we can open it up. I don't know how.
Perfect. Thanks, Mike. I just want to take a minute to recognize we have a couple of representatives from different elected officials' offices. We have Alex from State Rep Kevin Honen's office, Pam Mulaney from Councilor Braden's office, the district councilor, and also Jen Migliori from State Rep Mike Moran's office. So thanks for joining us tonight. I'm going to open up for questions and comments. Folks, if you look down below for the reactions or the ellipses, you have the option to digitally raise your hand. That way I know I can call on you, that you have a question. I see we have a couple of people also calling in via phone. If you hit *3, that also digitally raises your hand. I have the ability to unmute you and call on you. We did just recently have a presentation for another proposal within this vicinity. Let's keep questions and comments specific to this proposal right here at 144 Harvard Ave. That way we can focus on the presentation we saw tonight. So first up, Harry Jean Jacques. Like I said, I'm going to unmute you and go ahead. Just sent you the request. Harry, can you hear us? Hello, Harry? Harry, can you speak? All right, we might have to circle back to you. All right, Sean McConarty. Just sent you the request to unmute yourself. Sean, if you can go ahead.
With my support, knowing the area, I know a lot of that block has been empty for quite some time. I think a quality store front in that area would do a lot and kind of revitalize that Harvard Ave area. That's been kind of hurting for a bit, especially for any type of retail. There's plenty of restaurants coming in and going out of business. And the idea that there will be some work with Allston Village Main Streets really means a lot to me. Being in the area, I know they've painted some murals that really add some beauty to the area while also decreasing the amount of graffiti. So that's important to me as well.
Excellent. Thank you, Sean. Up next, we have call-in user number 4 with a 774 area code. I'm muting you right now with your hand raised. Caller number 4. Just sent you a request to unmute yourself.
Is that *3?
Hello, can you hear me?
Oh yeah.
Yep, we can hear you now. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi. I am a resident of Greenthumb Ave in Allston. My name is Huda, and I oppose the 144 Harvard Ave project that we just heard from. I heard the lawyer talk about comparing marijuana dispensaries to cafes, and I beg to differ greatly because a lot of people use marijuana as medicine, and you don't really go and pick your medicine based on what the vibe is. You mostly take it based on price. And this place with corporate huge money coming in right next to existing minority-owned business that was just licensed in the same street is surely to drive them out of business. It's really like having a small TV store next to Best Buy. Who's going to have the better price? You can only guess. Um, if the commission's purpose is to give licenses to actual local businesses, actual small-sized entrepreneurs coming up in the area, I think they should reject this endeavor and stick with the people who have been here, who have been doing the work, the communities that have been most harmed by the war on drugs, the people whose lives have been worst impacted by this fighting marijuana madness that's been going on for decades. Thank you.
Connor, if I might,
Sure.
yeah, I just want to, I mean, I think we all agree with the sentiment that there's a difference between, you know, a local operator and a multi-state operator. In the eyes of the law, this applicant, Leah Samora, who could tell you a lot about her experience with the war on drugs and could tell you a lot about what she's been through, is exactly the same as the other applicant that is seeking to open also on Harvard Ave. There is no difference between Leah's application and the other applicant's application in terms of both are equity applicants. Both are 51%, or in this case, need to be at least 51% owned by a local operator. And that's what we are.
And Dr. Greenthumb is not a MSO.
Yeah, that's
To be
a
an
great
MSO,
point.
you have to operate in multiple states. As of right now, Dr. Greenthumb, the company, does not operate in multiple states. And I myself am not MSO.
So, I mean, the reality of what you're seeing with the industry, and I think it's important to say this, is that every applicant is going out and they're finding investors, or they have a bank account with $2.5 million in it to do this. Most everyone is going out, they're finding money. And that's, you know, so I think we are who we are. And, you know, Leah is, people in this city know Leah. She's extremely credible person. And to say that somehow she's a best buy is an unfair characterization.
Right. David, I see your hand is raised, sending you the unmute request. Yep, David, can you hear us? David, you just get disconnected again. David. All right, we'll go to Harry, who I think might be related. Harry, just sent you the unmute request. You can unmute yourself. Yep, Harry, go ahead.
Hello.
Yep, we can hear you, Harry.
Hey, thank you for your time, everybody. I appreciate everybody, you know, taking the time out their day to talk about a very important issue today. I want to go on the record. My name is Harry Jean-Jacques. I'm from Dorchester. I vehemently opposed the operation on 144 Harvard Ave. I wish I could support Leah, but unfortunately I can't. This is just another case of her colluding with millionaire MSOs against, you know, the little guy. This is a blatant attempt to corrupt the system. Her and her husband were on the wrong side of history in 2018 when they chose to go against the greater mass cannabis community and collude with Sierra Natural and Rev Clinics. You know, 2 years later, they're at it again. She got, you know, we have, you know, proof of her working with, you know, cookies. Just Greenthumb is just a poor excuse of them getting a fourth company, which is, you know, illegal. You should only have 3 licenses according to the Commonwealth. If you look at the records, it has Edwin Fowler and Leah Samore as owner of the entity. So I think we should look at that. This is just a cheap attempt to skirt the regulations, which would be, you know, well documented according to the Boston Globe. This is just another iteration of that. Also, when Cookies was trying to open up in Harvard Square with her husband's business, against her husband's business, they both, you know, opposed that very, very strongly. So I just want to know what changed and why did you team up with them? And also, Leslie Hawkins joined their team and advocated for them in public and closed door meetings, which I think is a violation of the Boston Cannabis Board policy. I think someone should look into that. And thank you for your time. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Harry.
I was going to interrupt, but look, everyone has a right to their own opinions, but they don't have a right to their own facts. And this is not a forum, and I would suggest, and hope you'll agree, Connor, this is not a forum for character assassinations from other applicants who are intent on seeing their application win and this application lose. And I would just hope that we stick to the facts of why we're all here.
Yeah, I think certainly some of that language was a bit loaded, but I think there was some questions there in relation to another site in Cambridge. I do see there's we're getting into a debate here in the chat function, which is not what it's there for. It's there for questions to be asked in case people don't want to raise their hand. So, like I said, if we can focus specifically on 144 Harvard Ave, we can proceed. Okay. Mike, anything else you want to mention there?
No, I mean, but I reserve the right if, thank you.
Okay. All right, call in user number 4 with the 774 number. We can try this again. Sending you an unmute request. (774) number. Sent you a request. Yep. Call number 4, 774. Hello, you there? I think we might have already heard from that person. Jill. Jill are requesting that you unmute yourself. Please go ahead. Jill?
In Brighton. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you now, Jill. Go ahead.
Great, thank you. Hi, my name's Jill. I've been an Allston Brighton resident for over 10 years now. I'm in strong opposition to the 144 Harvard Ave proposal. I'm not sure what the lawyer was talking about with their coffee shops. There are zoning restrictions and you can only have so many in a certain space from each other. And there is already a minority owned shop that is doing a lot to support local artists and the community. And this is a smaller company that has said they would do more for the community instead of a big company from California. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill. Guys, once again, if we keep it focused on 144 Harvard Ave, all right? The questions sent to the applicant, either myself regarding the community process, but the focus should be on 144 Harvard Ave.
I do want to answer the question about the buffer zone. But I will point out that it's very unfortunate that this is becoming a attempt to put one business interest in front of the other. This is not a company from California. This is a company that's 51% owned by Liaison. The other people are investors and they're investing in individual capacity, and that information is publicly available. In terms of the buffer zone, so my only point with the coffee shops is that why are there so many, and why is there a reason to have so many? It's come up before, but I do not deny this is in the buffer zone, as is the other applicant at 117 Harvard Ave. They're both in the buffer zone of Mayflower Medicinals, which was opened 3 years ago, 2016, permitted in 2000. It has been open for a couple of years as a medical facility, and they're in the process of opening their adult facility. And the BCB, the Boston Cannabis Board, has said that they will allow for permutations within that half mile between entities. And indeed they have throughout the city. They've specifically said that in the case of, as here, and the other applicant, where there's an equity applicant, they would be more open to allow for permutation within the half mile. Then, of course, this has to go to the Zoning Board of Appeal, and you have to get a variance. Both us and the other applicant will have to get a variance. So we don't deny that there's a buffer zone issue here within the half mile. We think that there's demand here for it, both population-based and interest-based. And that's all I have to say on that for now.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks.
So guys, reiterate, this is the public meeting for 144 Harvard Ave, all right? So Barry Hines, I'm gonna mute you next, just sent you the request. Barry, you there? Barry?
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you now, yes, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Barry Hines. I own Barry Hines Inc., which abuts the property of the proposed business. I'm calling, my family has been in business in the Allston Brighton area for 60 years, and I've been operating my business for the last 22 years. The parking lot that is the rear of the proposed business is where I've been parking. I've been renting it for about 22 years now, and they're taking it over. And I just wanted to call in to say that I'm not opposed to the business coming in. I'm not supporting it at this time either, but I am in talks with them, trying to keep my access to the back of my building, which is access through that property. So I just wanted to make that on the record.
Understood. Thank you, Barry.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barry. And I know that we've been in touch and we're in continued conversations, and we're looking forward to working things through with you.
All right, Juan G, just sent you the request. Unmute yourself. Juan, you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
We can hear you now, Juan. Go ahead.
Apologies for that. So I just had a few questions, but I assure you they all kind of tie directly into the 144 Harvard Ave location. But the first being, I had done some research and I came across some information that I was just curious to hear your take on. And that kind of ties into gentleman Taba Mosley. So he was previously an equity applicant on file at the 144 Harvard Ave location. I was just curious to hear a little bit about just what transpired there and with that situation.
I know Taba. I know his great family. They are, well known to the broader community. But he's not part of this application. This is a totally separate team that has assembled itself for this specific location. I have properties that I've looked at 3, 4, 5 times with 3, 4, or 5 different clients. There's a lot of, there's only so many properties that don't have a mortgage, that are owned outright, that will allow for cannabis, that will have direct access off the street, that will allow for handicap access, all those things. You start to look at where they are and that, have the right size and all that parking in this case, and there's very far and few between. So what happens is you often get 2, 3, 4 people looking at the same property. Perhaps that's what happened here. I don't know. This is the only applicant that I've worked for at this location, and Taba was never part of it as far as this application goes.
All righty. Dione, apologize if I mispronounced that. Just sent you the unmute request. Dione H.
Thank you for letting me speak. I wanted to say I have a couple of questions. I want to first start off by saying that I oppose the 144 Harvard Ave proposal, but I can ask questions. I have a couple of questions. I can ask them collectively if you want me to, or I can ask them one by one and have you respond. It's up to you.
I asked them collectively, ideally.
Okay. All right. So you had mentioned earlier about the parking in the Glenville Terrace area. And, I understand that you're talking about the parking behind the building as well as the other parking spaces that you have for employees, customers, and then you're talking about the municipal lot. My question to you is, there's customers or there are people who are residents of the area who are currently parking there. So do you have a solution for where you plan on having those people park, since you're going to be displacing them in what their regular parking spaces have been, number one? And then number two, the attorney, I'm sorry, Mr. Ross, Attorney Ross, you've been doing a lot of the talking tonight, and I know that Leah's 51% owner. So the question I have for you is, who's going to be kind of running the day-to-day store operations? I know you might have a general manager, but because she's 51% owner, as well as Edwin Fowler, who's the other owner, I just wanted to know who is going to be running the operation if you are placed in that location.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
All right. Well, I won't be running, I will not be running the operation.
Yeah, and I'll be running my own store.
You're going to be running your own store.
Absolutely, it's my store.
Okay. So you're standing in front of the person who'll be running it. In terms of the, oh, sorry, Connor, were you going to say something?
Nope, that's fine. Go ahead to parking.
Just in terms of the parking issue. Yeah, I mean, you know, you're kind of damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, right? I mean, the neighborhood says, what are you going to do with all the parking? So you go out, you find parking, and then someone says, well, you're displacing someone else who was using that parking. As best as I can see, it's a pretty large lot that we're only taking 10 spaces for. And I don't even know if we're going to need all those. I mean, I think there's a lot of, with the industry, I think there's a lot of fear that all these people are coming. These stores they're not nearly as busy as when they were first opened. I think the problem was everyone saw Netta on Route 9 in Brookline and freaked out, and now everyone is over parking and over all that stuff. I can tell you this, we will be ready. We are absolutely ready. Our employees have parking that is off the street that will not take up parking spaces for the retailers in the area. Our Glenville will provide a buffer. It will allow people to park, and I'm pretty sure that those customers are going to go to our facility, but they'll also go to the other facilities, the other shops in the area. You know, they might even stop in our competitors' store for all the people who are on the line tonight to support that group. You know, more power to them. As long as they stop into our store, they have every right to park in that space back there. So we're doing the best we can. We're hearing different things when we go to different groups, and not everyone agrees with everything. But one thing that we have heard over and over is you got to get your parking straight. And that's what we're trying to do.
Thank you. All right, Alexander, I'm going to call on you next. Just sent you the unmute request. Alexander, you there?
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yep, Alexander, we can hear you now. Please go ahead.
Great. Yeah, my name is Alexander. I have lived in Allston Brighton for a number of years now. I am a community organizer here in Allston Brighton in both my professional life and on my free time. I do legally have to say I'm here as an individual. Nothing reflects my workplace. So I do organizing work here in Allston in the equitable transportation space. And I get involved a lot in the community on my own time, doing things like volunteering with Allston Village Main Streets, volunteering for campaigns, going to community events. I want to go on record in strong opposition of the 144 Harvard Ave proposal. The landlord of 144 Harvard is Alpha Management. Alpha Management has a reputation of not taking care of its properties and charging excessive rents. Many of the empty storefronts on Harvard Ave are actually owned by Alpha Management. The lease was just assigned to Optco in October 2021. Even though Optco knew there was an operator 200 feet away already in the licensing process, they chose to proceed knowing that there is a half-mile buffer zone. This is definitely an attempt by a corporate cannabis company to bully and overpower a small, local, 100% minority-owned company that has really strong connections to the Allston Brighton community, unlike 144 Harvard Ave. So we're definitely not going to stand by and let the kind of corporate greed and corporate dollars bully and buy their way into our Allston Brighton neighborhood. Thank you, Connor, and everyone for running this meeting.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, we understand that there's competition in the marketplace here, folks. And, you know, Leah Samura is a well-known and established person, Bostonian, and she's put together a team to be able to pay for and open her facility. And you know, you keep saying that this corporate greed and this, it's just you're being, you know, it's very nasty. If you like the other group, congratulations, they got through. Support them at the Zoning Board of Appeal. If you feel like the only way the other group can survive is by killing us, well, it's pretty clear what's happening here. So, you know, we're going to do the best we can to go forward. We have a great team. We're going to open. We're going to be successful. We're going to support this community. And you know, it's just unfortunate that everyone is supporting this other group, and that's where this opposition is coming from.
All right. So we've still got some hands raised, and we still have some comments in the chat bar that I want to read. First off, though, jumping around, Roger. Roger, I see your hand is raised. Going to unmute you. Roger, if you could please go ahead. Guys, and once again, chat bar function is to ask questions. All right, it's not for debates. I don't want to beat a dead horse here. All right.
Hello.
Yep.
Okay. So
Roger.
I'm the owner of the just next door building, 140 of the duplex here. And I joined this Harvard Avenue like 2 years ago. I can say that due to the COVID, the business has been so bad. Even right now, it's not a fully recovered. So, on my personal opinion, I really welcome the cannabis business come to my next door for helping the whole street of the business to go up to bring the people here for more businesses. But the only concern that I have, the same thing that as a lot of people mentioned about the parking spaces. Right now, even my customer is, afraid of the parking spaces currently. Like even on the street or behind the building, the huge parking lot it's not enough for my customer right now so far. So I was imagining, I mean, it's kind of huge problem for my neighbors if they come. So I mean, like I do really support the cabinet's business, but I just want they solve the problem before they come, so the whole street do not get the traffic load. That's all I want to say.
Understood. Thank you, Roger.
Thank you, man.
All right. Chris Corey, just sent you the request to unmute yourself. Chris?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep, Chris, we can hear you now. Go ahead.
Awesome. Chris Corey over here at Blanchard's Liquors across the street here. So I know we're talking about 144, but so I'm just a little unsure on how the project at 116 can be approved, and now there's going to be a project at 144. I know sometimes they bend the rules a little bit on the buffer zone distance, but I mean, this is practically next door to that other facility. So how does that work as far as the city's concerned? I mean, I can't imagine they're going to let two stores open up practically
so
next door.
Chris, that's a great question. So the other applicant has gone through and has been approved by the Cannabis Board, the Boston Cannabis Board. They would still need to go on to the Boston Zoning Board of Appeals. So the Zoning Board of Appeals takes a look at the zoning side. They're the ones that make the determination, and then they still have to go on to the Cannabis Control Commission, which is at the state level. So although the other applicant has hit one checkpoint in the approval process, they still have to go before the Zoning Board of Appeals, as would this applicant as well. So, but that is something.
At the end of it,
so
only
I'm
one
sorry.
of these is going to.
So it's to be determined. So Zoning Board of Appeals takes a look at, the buffer zone issue. If there's other applications that are within the area, they take a look to see if there's, a certain desire or a need in the area with foot traffic, other means that can support multiple applicants within a short space. There's some parts of the city, Mike has been involved in other applications throughout the city. Sometimes the board does take a hard line when it comes to the buffer zone. Other times they do not. The main thing that I'm thinking of is around Newberry Street. There's, I think, at least 3 different cannabis stores that have opened up. I don't think they're all on Newberry Street, but they're within a certain proximity. They're within the buffer of each other. So ultimately, it will be the Zoning Board of Appeals that will make that decision whether or not to take a hard line on the border, or if they feel that there's enough demand, they'll allow for multiple applications. So end of the day, it's an independent board that makes that determination. It's not me, it's not our office, and it's not the Boston Cannabis Board.
Okay,
that's
helpful.
Chris, there are a number of locations around the city. There's a map. You can go on the Boston Cannabis Board. They have a pretty interesting user-friendly map that shows you where they all are that are approved. there's a ton in the Back Bay. There's Fenway, I think, has a cluster. Downtown has some. This would be a cluster, no question. But there are locations throughout the city that, and a lot of that has to do, there's only certain places where they can go, and certain buildings and that type of thing as well.
Yeah, and so I've
Okay.
I've seen them, like I said, take a hard stance. Other times I've seen them make a separate decision. So we'll find out in good time. So
Another
Chris,
quick question here.
Yep. Sorry, go ahead.
Are they going to prohibit, so two-pronged, both related to parking, are they going to prohibit any sort of people pulling up? And if somebody does try to pull up, are they going to turn them away to the parking lot? And the second part of that is that parking lot that was referenced on the plan for the customers, looks really large on that plan, but there's a lot of dumpsters and employee parking for some of those other businesses back there. Are they going to have labeled dedicated spaces in that lot that will be monitored by a tow company so that people aren't abusing those spaces and that they're actually always there and available for the business use for the customers?
Yeah, Chris, we'll absolutely need to patrol it and make sure that it's our spaces, and there will be some form of letting people know that this is where you park for our spaces. We're not going to turn people away who are parking in legal metered parking spaces. We don't have the right to do that.
No, I meant double parking.
Well, absolutely. They won't. We're going to have security on site. If someone's double parking and they say, we just want to run in just really quickly and just grab something in here, those people will not be allowed to go in there. We have the right to not serve people who are doing things like that. If we see someone light up, guess what? They're not going to, that's not what we signed up for. We agreed to be, to be a good neighbor, and you don't want to be a nuisance. That's part of this presentation was tonight. But not having parking would have been, I think, more of an issue. Would have created more problems for the area for parking, and so we felt like bringing in the resource was a value added. Hopefully, you agree.
Is that
I know that
a
Blanchard's
separate
next to the lot over there? We have a lot of activity, and I'm sure you're dealing with it all day long.
We do. We have a big lot and we still have trouble. So that's why we're just curious. Is that like a separate lease agreement between the business and who owns that lot for those 10 spaces? Or it's not similar ownership, I don't think, between 144 Harvard Ave and that lot, but I just wanted to get my last thing.
I think you're right. I think it is separate. I don't think it's the same person. In fact, I'm almost certain it's not.
But
so yeah, totally separate agreement.
Okay. All right, that's all I
Great.
have. Thank you for answering these questions.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. All right. Moore and Cynthia just sent you the unmute request.
Hey, how's it going? I am in 100% favor for this. If you look at over here where we're at by Randolph, you have Greenthumb right next to Canopy and Brockton. You have Greenthumb right across the street from Canopy. It doesn't stop anybody's money. That's a lot of fear mongering. I'm really embarrassed about a lot of these equity people coming up saying that
let's avoid taking shots at other people. Let's address it simply to the applicant.
I'm not taking shots, but please, Conor, let me finish while you allow those other individuals to finish, brother. Thank you. I think Leah is 110% equity. She's definitely 110% Boston. She's been in Boston, and I don't understand what you think equity people are supposed to do. You understand? We're supposed to make these. My hat goes off to people like Leah and her husband, who are able to make these deals with these businesses and hold them accountable. I like this. I love to see stuff like this. I don't like to see MSOs come into our state alone by themselves. I've only been in Massachusetts for about 10 years, but I got an arrest in Boston in 2016. I got an arrest from an undercover cop in Boston. So I think I'm Boston enough to speak on cannabis. and my arrest was on cannabis. Lifetime cannabis cowboy. My first arrest was was at 14 years old in 1994. So, you know, to speak intelligently on this subject, I think I've been around the block enough, and I love what I see. I love how the industry is going. I love how these companies are lifting up equity people, people in the trenches, locals, investing in locals. You know, I mean, I don't know what kind of fantasy world people are living in, but I just loved it when I see white men, white women, white individuals respecting equity, you know, and helping us into this industry that, you know, exploited us through mass incarceration for all these years. But that's all I have to say on that. I'm gonna let my wife speak.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Cynthia Marpoint, and I'd just like to introduce myself and go on record as being a lifelong Massachusetts resident. I do live right outside of the city of Boston. And one of the things I want to highlight with this particular applicant that is exciting is that when we look at the data around who are the business owners in Massachusetts, we only have 11% people of color and 9% total. This includes both people of color and are women. 9%. So to see Leah standing here before us with a project that is not only representative of the charge that we have here in Massachusetts, but also speaks to the spirit that the city of Boston is looking to uplift, is a testament to her and the investors that are looking to back her. I think a lot of the people who may not be fully understanding the climate in terms of what is happening with the businesses as they enter into the communities and what actually transpires. As my husband said, there's a lot of fear mongering when there's misinformation being circulated. I think the attorney here, Mike Ross, has done a really strong job in terms of reiterating that Leah is here representing her business as an owner for her business, and she has done the hard work in terms of partnering and finding the capital and the resources. This is not an easy lift. The requirements to enter into this space are really difficult, and to say that we want to achieve equity, but then not want to put in place the structures and proponents necessary for equity to actually exist is hypocritical. And then I do want to just some common sense pieces of information I'd like to share with the public, with the community, when we talk about issues around parking, which is something that I hear come up significantly more in equity applicants than I do with other non-equity applicants across the state. In this particular instance, Leah's project, she has done a great job in terms of making sure that there is parking available. But in general, customers are spending on average 10 minutes at most in the store. So parking being a huge barrier for other businesses is not a reality. It's not the reality that people once thought it was back in 2018 when our industry first opened up. We're seeing that a lot of our businesses are able to have systems in place that can streamline the processes and the experience for the customer, so that's not a huge barrier. And to be honest, I appreciated the neighbor that came on and said that he's excited to see a business like Cannabis come in, because it will drive customers. It'll bring that to the area, and that is very impactful for several reasons. One, it actually highlights and negates the previous argument or concern that someone had about the empty storefronts. So now you have a business that we know has a track record of generating revenue to be able to sustain the some of the high costs of rent in the Boston area. And then secondly, again, if it were another business that came in and that could not sustain, it would pose a challenge and put that area of the community back in the same position that it was. All that, again, to just wrap up and say, I am a strong proponent and supporter of this project. I'd love to see Boston push this forward. We need more women-owned businesses. We need more minority, Black-owned businesses, and we need more Black women-owned businesses in Massachusetts, and Boston should continue to lead that and support this project. And with that, I will close my record.
Great. Thank you, Cynthia. Folks, once again, the chat function is for questions for those who don't want to raise their hands. I'm seeing a lot of debates going back and forth here. I will start kicking people out specifically for the application at 144 Harvard Ave. All right. All right. With that, who's up next? Ushor, I'm going to send you the request to unmute yourself. Ushor?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, how are you? So I just want to express my, I agree exactly with Mara and Cynthia, actually. Spot on. I couldn't have said it better myself. Leah, amazing work. I'm very proud of you. We need more Black women-owned businesses in the Boston area. You are doing exactly what most minorities only can dream of. The fact that you've sustained and you've acquired that, that equity and the ability to more or less open a business as a minority, which is very difficult. My parents did that 31 years ago. Until this day, they still struggle to get things done, still struggle to gain money from the banks and what have you. But I'm also a user. I called in as a user, but I wanted to, basically commend Maura and Cynthia for what they said. As a user, it is very difficult to find, a decent, accessible dispensary with what you guys are doing with the parking. I know other places, I don't want to say names, it's very difficult to find parking, very difficult to gain, access to the building. It's just on a main road, and Mike Ross has mentioned that previously, the location. That was something that was very difficult to, see an alternative to at the beginning. But why would you try to shut down an opportunity for a user? And I'm also a user with MS, so it's very difficult for me to walk long distances. I get tired, I get fatigued very easily. With something like this, it would be very ideal. I live in the Allston area. I'm a strong proponent of yours, Leah, and I wish you guys all the best and best of luck on every endeavor going forward. We should not be shutting down people, especially minorities, especially female-owned businesses. That doesn't make sense to me. And this, the idea of competition is going to shut out every other business. I don't accept that, and I don't believe it. That's ridiculous, and it's absurd.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, taking a pause to read some of the comments that we've received. My name is Autumn. I'm a lifelong resident of Brighton. I strongly oppose the proposal at 144 Harvard Ave. For my community, I would like to see promotional of local businesses in place of large corporations. Thank you. I think we had another comment from another person here. Jenny, I own Regeneration Tattoo at 155 Harvard Ave. I oppose the opening of Dr. Greenthumb at 144 Harvard Ave. I'd love to support you as another woman-owned business. However, I've yet to meet with you, which I find disappointing.
Can I just say, Jenny, you're absolutely right. You should have received a knock on your door. We regret that didn't happen. We're still we're doing walks and we're doing outreach. Leah's doing it herself. It's just taking her a while to get to everyone, but expect to see us and maybe we can have a conversation. But we appreciate your comment and understand it, and we'll hope to work to turn you around.
Okay. Let's see. Chris G, I think we might have missed you. I don't know if you want to raise your hand again. I'm sorry about that. I saw you on here and then I don't see you anymore. Brendy O, I'm going to send you a request to unmute yourself. Brendy, if you can go next.
I was having technical difficulties getting on here in the first place. I don't know if you guys can hear me.
Brendy, we can hear you now. If you go ahead, please.
Perfect. My name is Brendy, and I am in opposition of the opening of 144 Harvard Ave. I'm concerned because I really would like to know, it seems like there's a lot of debate as far as the parking would go, but I do know that for somebody who does live near a dispensary, traffic and parking tends to be a problem on a daily basis throughout the entire day. And I live down the road from it. So I'd like to know how you guys are, or what you guys have in place where all of the businesses are working together to make sure that you're on the same page. Also, I do think that allowing a multi-million giant like Cookies or any of its affiliates to set up shop 200 feet away from another social equity candidate could be crippling to their business. It's just a concern of mine.
Brendy, like I said, please keep it focused on 144 Harvard Ave.
Sure. And as a fellow businesswoman, I will say I always support another businesswoman, but we're just kind of concerned about like the inner workings or the outer workings, that as far as like the outreach goes and how it's going to be impacting the people of our community, how is it going to be giving back to the people who were impacted by the war on drugs, and the other benefits that your business will be bringing into our business, into our community.
Great, thank you, Mike.
And I'd like to know if you guys can go over that some more. Thank you.
Mike, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, so I'll just say, look, these are actually really, these are fair questions. I mean, you want to know who is doing business in your community. You know, I would tell you that I don't know of any equity applicants that have been able to bankroll this thing themselves. They've all reached out to different investors. Some of those investors are in the form of people within the industry, and some of the investors have nothing to do with the industry. They just have money. And everyone has a different way of doing it. Leah was deliberate in what she put together here. She's been in the industry. She's created a product that helps people around intimacy using cannabis. And it's an amazing product that is giving a lot of relief to people who desperately need it. And, you know, she's an activist in this space. There are obviously some people out there who, you know, they want to support this other group, but it's not unfair for you to ask the question, who is doing business in my community? I'd encourage you to get to know Leah, to see her that she's a real person and that she's got tremendous credibility and legitimacy. And it's because of that she's been able to put this together. And we know we wish no harm to the other group who had to do their own fundraising for this. And I'm sure you can find some people in all these groups that are out of state and that are from whatever, from different walks of life. But you know, the bottom line is, who's left controlling the entity? Who has control? Leah does. She owns 51% and has control of this entity. She is in charge of this entity. You can't go to the Boston Cannabis Board and tell them that you have an equity applicant who's running the show and then summarily get rid of that equity applicant. The Boston Cannabis Board won't have that. They've already said that they won't have that. It's written into their regulations. So no one with their right mind would try to get into bed with an operator with that being their goal. It just makes no sense. So Leah's your person. She's the one that you'll get to know, and I urge you to do so. In terms of traffic and parking, that's another very fair question, especially if you live right down the road from where we are. We got the 10 extra parking spaces on Glenville Ave for the very reason that we believe that our repeat customers will continue to use those and not try to find parking or take parking away from the more immediately available metered parking spaces along Harvard Ave. And we created the spaces in the back, 9 for us, dedicated drop-off and bicycle parking in the rear for our employees so that there won't be any, you know, if you go to Newberry Street, you'll see half the parking spaces are having the meters fed by the people who cut hair on Newberry Street. I have no problem with hairdressers or people who cut hair, they're making a living, but a lot of the people on Newberry Street, it's the biggest problem on Newberry Street, is that the people parking there are the people that work there. That will not be the situation here. We have places for our cars. Not every application can say that. Not every Allston application can say that. So we feel like that's going to help the problem overall.
All right, thank you, Mike. Max, so your hand is raised. Just sent you the unmute request. Max. Send the request again. Max, hand raised. All right. Juan, I see you have your hand raised again. I will send you an unmute request. Juan, please go ahead. Juan G.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yep, Juan, we can hear you now. Yes.
Perfect. So, you know, I think it's great to see a Black woman at the forefront of this project. But I think what a lot of folks are voicing is that, you know, there's other folks that we've heard Fowler's invested in this and other investors that have skin in the game. I think we're really curious to hear more from Leah as well about what's going to happen in our community. I think we've heard a lot from Mike Ross, but we want to hear about, how you intend to impact local businesses, how this intends to impact residents. We want to hear really from those investors as well, right? And it doesn't seem like any of them are present. And like I said, we haven't heard much from Leah. So, I would love to hear more from Leah around her plans with this and again, how it's going to impact the community.
Listen, Leah employs me, so she can absolutely, I'm here on her behalf. Before she says anything, I just want to point out that not a single person asked the other applicant if they could hear from their investors. Okay, so let's at least try to level the playing fields here. If you're going to be fair, you got to be fair on both sides. Go ahead, Leah.
Hi, thank you for that. So my background for the past 20 plus years, I worked in nonprofit as a workforce development technology trainer, doing just that, trying to help other people have better employment or gain better employment. And I did it for 20 plus years. I left my job crying, didn't want to leave. My husband convinced me that I can get into this industry and do the same thing. One thing about me is that I just don't do things just to be doing them, just because that's what everybody else is doing. I have to have a reason, and there has to be a purpose behind what I am doing. One of the things is that I'm a woman. I'm a Black woman, very proud Black woman. And so one of the things I hope to do is encourage other Black women and other women to get into this industry, because for some reason we feel like we don't belong here. Another thing is with the different stores, I'll be able to employ people, and at a higher rate than most other people. We have an obligation to go beyond the cost of living rate for our employees. We have an obligation to hire as an economic empowerment applicant, not just a regular applicant, but as an economic empowerment applicant. We have higher obligations to make sure that we hire the right people to be in this industry. All right, 75% of the people, other than the other companies, they don't have that obligation. We do. Right. So the one thing that I plan to do is impact the way that I can impact your communities. Workforce development is a big part of me. So any dealing with the homeless, dealing with women's shelters, dealing with the youth, with technology, all those things are things that I plan to bring if they're willing to work with cannabis. Not all these businesses are willing to work with us. So I have to work with people that are willing to work with me. Okay. So does that answer your question?
Thank you, Leah. So Jacob, I see your hand raised. Just sent you the unmute request. Yep, Jacob.
Hi there. I'm coming into this meeting with no affiliation with any offices. I live at 1211 Commonwealth Avenue, so I'm literally right around the corner. I just want to say, Leah, thank you for your candidness. It's hard coming into a space like this. And I think that Allston Brighton as a neighborhood needs to see more strong Black women coming forward as leaders in the community, because it's something that I think we lack often. And, when a bakery opens up next to a bakery on Harvard Avenue, no one really says anything, but because of this is such a scrutinized process, I think it's a little unfair. And again, I'm coming at this with just personal views, but if you're able as an equity applicant to thrive in this community, and another applicant next door who's also an equity applicant is able to thrive, then more power to the equity applicants. The racist war on drugs has impacted us too much for us to, be worried about these small things. So I just want to say I personally support you, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jacob.
Thank you.
Max, give you another shot. Just sent you the request to unmute. Max. Not hearing anything. All right. Will Justice. Will, you've been very vocal in the chat function. I'm going to unmute you. Please keep it concise and focused to 144 Harvard Ave, okay? Will?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
I'm going to tell you this. Don't tell me how to speak. First off. So, Will Justice. I'm from Roxbury. And, I'm seeing a lot of anti-equity speech. And it's I was there when people were going against the equity, and now that they have their money, they're out here and they're doing what they do. And it's yo, I wish you all the success in the world, but I have to oppose, because the people who don't have all these resources and need the resources, you're trying to push them out, and that is a problem. So you cannot be making, like, you can't be breaking people's backs and sitting there saying, well, I'm making progress, so I mean, so what? This is not a good thing. So anybody speaking on anti-equity, it's like, how good of a business are you going to be because you do not care about this community if you're going to bring in outsiders who don't care about our community? That's like, if I bring somebody into a party and I know that person is going to rob everyone, I'm responsible because I know that's what they're going to do. And what I was about to say, it's like, you're acting like a bakery against another bakery. No, you're talking about Sara Lee, a factory, versus a mom and pop. All right, that's not the same thing. That's not competition. That's called crushing. Like, and they know that there's no way to compete. So it's like, you can't equate this. Stop this false narrative. I don't know these other people, but I tell you, I'm against some people because they've gone against my people, and I'm going to have to fight you against my people because my people take priority, the ones who've actually been effective. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I can't support it. I can't support it. I love black-owned business. If you know who I am, it's this Will Justice. I am black-owned business. But if you sit there going outside the community, and you're getting people who don't care about my community, you're just another gentrifier, which is another thing I fight.
All right. Thank you, Will. Sal, I see your hand is raised. I'll go ahead and unmute you. Sal, just sent you the request to unmute. Yep, Sal. Sal, you there? Sal, we can't hear you. Hello? All right. Max, try you again. Just sent you the request to unmute yourself. Max. All right. Sal, we'll give you another try. Sal, just sent you the request to unmute yourself. Yep, Sal. Sal, I'm afraid we can't hear you. Can you go ahead? Sal, you there? Sorry, Sal, we can't hear anything on our end. All right, folks. So it's 7:24. We've heard a lot of comments, a lot of feedback from abutters and people beyond. At some point, the applicant, David, I'll give you a shot. David, you want to raise your hand again? I think you spoke earlier. Just sent you the request, David. David, you there?
Yes.
Yep.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you now, David. Yes.
How you doing? This is David. I'm a Boston resident. I want to go on record in strong opposition against the 144 Harvard Ave proposal. I really want to support Black-owned business, but like Will Justice said, this is gentrified. I believe Leslie Delaney Hawking, who is a Boston Cannabis Control Board member, has shown public support for this company, which is a conflict of interest
I
that
think
people don't really have.
she no longer works for the Cannabis Board, David.
Yes, but I'm just saying in the past, I think that's a conflict of interest. I'm basically getting at the point that it's an MSO in my eyes. And like Will Justice said, you guys are shutting down the mom and pop stores. and we really want to make sure that we support social equity in full, not halfway. And we really want to make sure that we're well represented. I'm a Boston resident, born and raised, and I feel like no one has addressed the fact that there's a partnership between Cookies and Dr. Cream and Greenthumb. They have the same address, so I think that's a conflict of interest as well. And also, there's big money coming from Cypress Hill, from California. Is just not what we see for social equity in our community. There's a lot of people that are struggling in Boston. The rate between the minorities and non-minorities is very immense, and we want to change that. This is not going to be the way to change equity and create equity. I believe I'm in strong opposition, and I believe that the
Thank you,
mom and
David.
pop stores should get that opportunity.
It's been noted. Thank you, David.
Yeah, I mean, that one of the things that was just said by the previous speaker had anything to do with why we're here tonight. There is not, the only thing that conversation had to do with is some beef that he and the others don't like, a position that Leah took with regard to working with one of these other companies. That's her decision. She can do that. She should not be targeted and attacked by a group of people who are coordinating an effort
Mostly men attack.
to attack her. She is as much an equity applicant as any other equity applicant, and she is every bit of her life experience that she's been through, that she doesn't deserve to be put through this. We at my law firm provide discounts for anyone who's an equity applicant. I can tell you that we are applying that to this group here. Because we're trying to support the industry in our own way. And that's what we did here. We see no difference in what Leah's trying to do than some of the other applicants. I do represent some multi-state operators. They exist. They're in the industry. This is not one of them, not even close. This is someone from Boston who's being unfairly treated by some other people from Boston. Call up and complain about the parking. Say you hate cannabis. Do what everyone else does at these meetings. But to target her because of some decisions that she's made previously that have nothing to do with this application is not the purpose of this meeting. And if you try to do that at the Boston Cannabis Board, go ahead, try to.
Yeah, it's not often that I've had to kick out multiple people in a meeting, and I've run the gamut. I've run billboard projects and cannabis projects. So this has been aggravating for me. All right. Yeah, it seems like people can't be civil on here. So we're going to have to call the meeting as it is.
Thank you.
Thanks for those who've attended.
Appreciate it.
Further comments can be sent to the Boston Cannabis Board. Please reach out to my office if you'd like to learn how to do that. Thanks for coming tonight. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Threat. And the threat at the end.
I got a big threat at the end.